Turns out you contributed too much to a Roth IRA. You weren't allowed to, but you weren't aware of those rules. All of a sudden you found out you contributed too much. How do you fix it? Why do you need to fix it? What do you do? I got that more coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. All right, so here's how this works. You've been contributing to a Roth IRA for many years. It's just something that you do periodically. I know a lot of people that graduated college and said, my goal, my first financial goal is I'm going to max out my Roth IRA every single year. And that's what you do. And you're not a financial expert. And so you just do that each and every year, or you're funding as much as you can. And all of a sudden you hear something, or you see a video, or you see an article that says there's an income limit on contributing to the Roth. And this panic goes over you. You're like, wait a second, do I make too much? Am I even allowed to contribute to the Roth IRA? Yes, there is an income limit, okay? And it's different depending on your tax filing status. If you're married, filing a joint tax return, then it's your household adjusted gross income. If that adjusted gross income, so yours, your spouse, your dividends, your Social Security, your unemployment, blah, 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 all of your income comes together, inherited IRAs that you withdraw, all of that comes together. And if your adjusted gross income is below $198,000, this is for tax year 2021, you can contribute the maximum amount to the Roth, no problem. If it's more than 198, then but not above 208, then you can contribute less than the maximum amount. But if your income's over 208, can't contribute anything. If you're single or head of household, that's 125 and below, 125,000 for adjusted gross income. I mean, think about this. As a young professional, if you're single or just getting started, you're probably, graduating and you're making 40 grand, but you quickly develop some skills and you're hustling and you're hungry, and so your income goes up, and then, COVID hits and, blah, 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 and your income is all of a sudden you make 140 grand, with bonuses or something like that. Well, guys, you can't contribute to a Roth IRA anymore. All right? And then, goodness, if you are married filing a separate tax return, that income limit's only 10 grand. So if you're married and filing a separate tax return, just assume that you can't contribute to a Roth IRA. So when that happens, if your income's above that limit, you didn't know it, you've been making contributions to the Roth IRA, but you're not allowed to, you have an excess contribution. That's what you have. In the year, if you find this out instantly in that same tax year, take the money out, okay? Take the money out. But if this happened last year or a couple years ago and you weren't aware of it, you're gonna need to fix this. Why? Because there's an excess contribution penalty, a 6% excess contribution penalty on whatever that excess contribution was. So check this out. And the biggest part of it is if you don't fix it, then that excess contribution, that penalty applies every year that excess money has been in there, okay? So if you contribute more than what you should 3 years ago and you don't fix it until now, that's 3 years of excess contributions. In addition, obviously that money is going to be invested in your Roth. I mean, that's why you're going to want that money growing for you. And by the time you realize, oh, I contributed an excess amount, I put too much in, when you withdraw it, you're going to need to calculate how much was the earnings, how much was the growth on that, and withdraw that growth out as well. And if you're not eligible to make a qualifying distribution from your account, from your Roth IRA, you're going to have to pay a 10% penalty on that distribution of earnings as well. All right, so this article that I've been linking here and I've got down below has an example. Let's go through this. An example of excess contribution. So you've been contributing to and this is saying IRA, but let's say Roth, contributed $3,000 to the Roth, you do your taxes and you find out, oh my goodness, when I add up all my other income sources, my adjusted gross income is too high. And I can still contribute some, but I can't contribute all of that. So instead of $3,000, I can only contribute $2,000. So your excess contribution for that year is $1,000. You then can go through this calculation to see, well, how much earnings did I make that needs to come out with my excess contribution? And on that $1,000, you've got to withdraw that. There's a 6% excess contribution penalty on that. So that'd be $60 in penalty that you'd need to pay. And then there'd be, in this example, $200 worth of earnings that you'd have to, if you're not eligible to make a qualifying withdrawal from that Roth, you'd have to include that as income and pay a 10% penalty on that as well. So like I said, this happens from time to time. People love the idea of the Roth. They start funding it. Their income situation changes. And then unbeknownst to them, they now make too much and they shouldn't have been contributing. This happens all the time. This is why we tell you here at the Wise Money Show and at Korhorn Financial Group, deciding whether to do pre-tax or Roth is an annual decision. It's an annual decision. Most people just set it and forget it, put it on autopilot. I love that. That's the right way to invest. But on an annual basis, you've got to confirm, all right, is the IRA the right one or the Roth IRA? Am I still allowed to contribute to these, or which one's the best one? That's an annual decision. If you've made this excess contribution, didn't realize it, all of a sudden you're aware, how do you fix it? Number one, you got to withdraw the excess contributions and the earnings. You can avoid that 6% penalty if you withdraw by the tax filing deadline. That's wonderful. That's the best case scenario. What we see often is 2-3 years go by. We're meeting with a new person and we look at their situation and they've been funding a Roth IRA when they shouldn't have. They've been making too much money and they've done it for years. If you happen to catch it before your tax filing deadline, wonderful. Just withdraw the excess and then the earnings. Okay, great. If you've already filed, then you'll need to amend your return, okay? Work with the certified financial planner. You could avoid the 6% penalty if you remove the excess contribution by filing an amended return by that extension deadline. You could always apply that extra contribution, that excess contribution, to the next year's contribution. This, though, assumes that it was just a one-year event where all of a sudden your income went way up and then it went back down. You couldn't contribute for that 1 year, but you now can. That's the problem that I've seen with this in practice, where, oh, we'll just push it forward to the next year's contribution. Nah, doesn't work. If you've been contributing every single year and your income is too high where you can't contribute, there's a problem with that. And then really withdraw the excess contribution next year or as soon as you can, just knowing that that 6% penalty applies. Guys, this is a sticky situation. If you find yourself here, work with a certified financial planner. Ideally, you already have one that's helping you with all 6 areas of your financial life, but also managing these investments, and they can dig in, do the calculation with you, and figure out exactly what you need to do. If you don't have a CFP on your team that can help you with that, you can always contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with a K. WiseMoneyShow.com. You can find us there as well, or send us an email, info@Korhorn.com. This article that I'm listing, that's the most comprehensive one that I've seen. The description's below. It's not the only one. If you're doing this yourself and this video just made you aware that there is an excess contribution, you've got to be aware of this, and you want to dig in and learn more as to how to fix this, certainly search excess contribution, Roth IRA, how to fix. You can always contact us as well. Again, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.